Holy moly! That federal ammo buy, it kinda slipped past the headlines like smoke in a stiff breeze. But what's really in it? Well, that's enough firepower to level whole city blocks. One order from MacDill Air Force Base talks about a huge open-ended contract worth something like $750 million for what they call specialty ammunition. Another paper from the same command hints at a total shipment over 800 million rounds. So, what in the Sam Hill is going on here? In this here breakdown, we're going to unpack how U.S. Special Operations Command, SOCOM, managed to bury them numbers right out in the open, what the actual words on SAM.gov tell us, why the kinds of cartridges they're getting don't match up with regular old training drills, and what this all means for anyone still believing Washington shoots straight. Over the past week, I dug deep into the statement of work, marked as Controlled Unclassified Information, for what they call the SOCOM Unique Munitions Requirement, or SUMR. I also looked over Attachment A, Exhibit A, and the formal ask-in paper labeled H92432223R00002. None of this stuff's locked up secret. You can download it straight from SAM.gov, but it seems like hardly anyone out in the public has bothered to. Right off the bat, the contract admits SOCOM's gearing up teams with next-generation weapons, packing way more punch than your standard military-issue rifles and machine guns. Since the regular ammo supply chain can't handle such fancy needs, SOCOM set up its own long-term supply line, good for 10 years, to order whatever ammo its armorers need. This includes stuff right off the shelf, tweaked commercial rounds, or completely custom loads built from government plans. Total spending limit, $750 million, spread out over 10 yearly ordering times. The contract lays out over 30 unique calibers. Some sound familiar, like 147-grain 9mm subsonic rounds made for quieted-down sidearms or pistol-caliber carbines. Others include 50-caliber short-range training ammo, linked up in 183 belts. Great for turret practice without sending full power slugs downrange. But the rest of the list, it looks like something a quartermaster scribbled down in a fever dream. There's 300 Blackout, both the quiet subsonic and loud supersonic kinds, plus 260 Remington cartridges loaded with 135-grain Hornady, a Tips, or 142-grain AccuBond Hunters. Then we're looking at 338 Norma Magnum ball rounds at 245 grains. XM 1214 multi-purpose linked ammo pushing 272 grains. And a real beast of a load, 375 ENBLR slugs weighing 407 grains. Built for a rifle the Pentagon ain't even admitted to public like. 6.5. Creedmoor also shows up with choices in 1037 and SMCC grain types. That last one meaning low flash, match-grade ammo made for real-world situations. The list gets even stranger from there. There's 5.56mm barrier blind Barnes TSX rounds at 70 grains, plus two kinds of 62-grain Barnes RRP reduced ricochet, limited penetration lead, free green tip ammo. They've even thrown in reactive breaching rounds in 9mm, meant for punching padlocks and hinges without sending shrapnel flying. Then you got what they call stunner rounds in 22 and 25 caliber, colored blue to show they're for less than lethal use or animal control. Even more interesting, they've ordered both blank and live 7.62 by 39mm loads. A caliber you don't see much in U.S. armories, but one that's handy when you're operating in unfriendly territory where blending in is a must. Each of these items is marked to be determined in the quantity spot, which makes sense. The whole idea of an IDIQ contract is being flexible, not stocking up right away. It lets SOCOM put in quick orders when a mission needs ammo that ain't kept in regular depots. The statement of work lays out some serious rules for accepting this stuff. That includes first article approval for any rounds they ain't certified yet, checking every batch. Full electronic records of chamber pressure, bullet speed, and lock time, plus tests on how they perform in gelatin blocks and checks on the energetic stuff, complete with burn tests, drop tests, and radar tracking. This ain't just paper-pushing fluff. These are the steps you take when a round might need to punch through an engine block, bounce off concrete without hurting hostages, or whisper through a quieted carbine during a midnight entry. So, how do we get to that monster number of 800 million rounds? It's just plain old math. Take something like Spear Gold Dot, a 147-grain 9mm hollow point that law enforcement uses a lot. In government bulk buys, it costs around 50 cents a shot. Fancy 5.56 loads from Barnes can go for 80 cents. Belted 338, Norma Magnum at 272 grains will run you over $1.20 a pull. Past contract prices tell the same tale. The Department of Homeland Security paid about 51 cents a round for 120 million Gold Dot 9mm loads. Meanwhile, Federal's duty contract for 223 Remington came in at about 60 cents a round. So, if we average that out to about 94 cents per round, $750 million buys you, give or take, just a hair under 800 million cartridges. Now, sure, some of that money might go to research and development, not just bullets and brass, but the Statement of Work lists R&D under its own separate lines. Meaning, the lion's share of that top limit still turns into actual ammo. Even if you crank the average cost up to $1.50 per round for the fancy stuff, you're still staring down 500 million rounds. That's a huge pile of ammo for a command that's got around 70,000 folks worldwide. Counting both operators and support staff. Do the math, and that's over 11,000 rounds per person. And we ain't talking cheap range M855 ball. We're talking subsonic 300 Blackout for quieted carbines, belted 338 Norma Magnum for busting up equipment, and ultra-high BC 6.5 Creedmoor for pinpoint hits out past 2,000 yards. And where's all this headed? According to Exhibit A, everything ships to Bluegrass Army Depot in Richmond, Kentucky. That place specializes in storing chemical munitions, getting rid of them, and moving things fast. It's got direct rail lines and highway access, making it the perfect central hub. SOCOM can load up shipping containers with custom mixes of ammo and get them to any U.S. port or airfield within a day. Think of Bluegrass as the Amazon middleman warehouse for fighting men, except instead of flat screens. It's stacked with custom rounds under unclassified but secure handling. Of course, the official story will be just regular buy-in for training and readiness. But let's dig into that a bit. Why order breaching rounds like the X-103, a reactive 9mm load built to blow hinges without hurting nearby folks? If you're only shooting paper targets, or take the ZC0 2525 caliber stunner round that's meant to knock livestock out before slaughter. Why would SOCOM even mess with something like that? 'Cause with a few tweaks, them rounds become makeshift doorbusters or distraction tools. Then there's the 50 caliber SRTA short-range training ammo in linked M18A3 belts. It feels like full power rounds, but cuts down the danger zone on the range. SOCOM's clearly planning to drill with ammo that acts like the real deal without burning through its mission supply. Now let's add in two special rounds from Barnes, the TSX 70-grain solid copper load in 5.56 and the RLP green tip frangible. Both lead-free and both nearly twice the cost of standard green tip M855A1. But that higher price buys very different answers. The TSX stays together through car glass and inside walls, perfect for when you gotta punch through stuff. Meanwhile, the RLP breaks up right away on hard surfaces like concrete, making it the choice for cutting down ricochet danger in tight spots. One's built for getting through, the other for keeping folks safe. Bundle 'em in the same open-ended contract, and what you got is mission-specific firepower ready to go, tailored to the job at hand. Then there's the 6.5 Creedmoor lineup, a clear sign pointing towards SOCOM's bigger shift in precision shooting. One order covers a 103-grain multi-purpose round, while another calls for a 137-grain open-tip load. These ain't just trial runs. SOCOM took to 6.5 Creedmoor for its better long-range ballistics when updating the MAC-20 sniper support rifle. Unlike 7.62 NATO, Creedmoor stays supersonic past 1,000 yards, which matters in high country or Arctic places where wind and drop play havoc on bullets that ain't so aerodynamic. Now think belt feds. That 103-grain round shows up linked, hinting at kits to change over crew-served weapons like the FN Metrity, 6 Micrity 8 or SIG's lightweight machine gun. Linked Creedmoor costs over $1 a trigger pull. Even if just 10% of that contract money goes to feeding them belts, we're looking at $75 million. Or around 60 million rounds, enough to keep a battalion-sized fight going for years. Folks who doubt might say SOCOM's just trying out fancy ammo, not buying a ton, but the contract language shoots that idea down. The statement of work demands unit-level bar coding, full lot tracking per MILSTD 1168, and rules for managing technical data. That ain't the footprint of a test. That's a supply chain built for moving product, with first article testing needed within 120 days of starting. No round leaves the factory until government inspectors give it the green light. That's a steady stream of buy-in, not just a look-see. Take a look at Subsonic 300 Blackout, the 200-grain, 250 load for instance. That brass-cased heavyweight goes for somewhere between 90 cents and $1.40 on past government deals. Even if SOCOM grabs just 1 million rounds in the first year, that's another $1 million bill. Add in the 110-grain TTSX for getting through barriers, and the matching RRLP for less over-penetration. And all of a sudden, you ain't talking about just a few carbines for night raids. You're managing 3 different war stashes under the same caliber, quiet strikes, barrier busting, and indoor close quarters with minimal risk to folks nearby. Multiply that by 10 years, and you've built a supply plan that easily tops $1 billion, assuming they use all their contract options. If this was just for training or keeping things going, SOCOM could have tacked onto existing Army contracts for bulk M855, M193, and M318 SOST, linked stuff, or basic 9mm FMJ. That would have cut costs way down, but they didn't. Instead, they're specifying grain weights, jacket material, tip design, and tracking rules, suggesting a need for operations that the standard stuff can't meet. Putting research and data rights into what's supposed to be an off-the-shelf buy tells us new weapon systems are either up and running or in the late stages of testing, maybe quieted intermediate rifles or even belt feds with moving barrels. And a 10-year ordering window confirms this ain't no quick fix. It's a change in doctrine. So, what kind of missions need such specific loads? You don't order Subsonic 300 BLK, frangible 5.56, breeching 9mm, and Creedmoor sniper belts unless you're fighting ground covers tight insides and ever-changing outsides. Think urban hostage rescue, where a bullet going too far could kill hostages. Think fighting pirates on supertankers, where a stray spark could light up fuel-filled spaces. Think cross-border direct action, where you can't leave brass behind. These ain't situations that need millions of rounds, but this contract funds that much anyway. Step back and connect the dots. The Department of Homeland Security back in 2018 gave Speer a 5-year deal for 120 million rounds of Gold Dot plus P 9mm. The Army just set aside $1.5 billion to ramp up 155mm artillery. The IRS, according to Open the Books, has spent $10 million on guns and ammo since 2020, including 5 million rounds for their criminal enforcement teams. Each line item covers a different tactical need: pistol ammo for close protection, artillery for big wars, tactical small arms for felony raids, and now SOCOM's fancy rounds for surgical strikes. Put it all together, and it paints a picture of government agencies getting ready for everything, from trouble at home to fighting near-peer enemies. The contract also includes a delivery rule that lets SOCOM demand shipments within 60 days, proof they want to be ready for a surge. Not just top off the stockpile. That kind of quick order fill-in hints at a crisis response setup, not just a rainy day supply. In a real flashpoint, they can trigger price lines and have pallets rolling towards Bluegrass Army Depot before the first news report hits. Now, before anyone starts yelling conspiracy, yes, rising costs for brass, copper, and lead can explain some of the price jump. But raw material costs don't explain why SOCOM's investing in oddball rounds like 260 Remington. You don't do that for training. You do it to be versatile in missions. Copper prices don't make you buy 7.62 by 39 blanks. That's for trickery or working with foreign forces. And you don't buy 9mm breaching rounds unless you want to break down doors without noisy explosives. Run the numbers one last time. At an average cost of 95 cents per round, an 800 million round top limit equals 4% of all commercial small arms ammo made worldwide in a given year. And SOCOM alone is locking that up. When Walmart cut back on 5.56 stock in 2020, civilian shooters panicked. Now imagine Barnes sending every TSX and RRP run straight to federal contracts. If you think shelves are looking bare now, just wait until year 5 of SUMR, when most of that fancy ammo goes straight to Uncle Sam. Yes, the contract's fine print says quantities might vary and no guarantee to buy full ceiling. But go back to the start of the statement of work. SOCOM wants a steady stream of the most lethal capability on the battlefield. That ain't no placeholder. That's an ongoing weapons-grade supply network. And let's not forget that classification tag. The document ain't secret, but every page has controlled unclassified information CUI markings. That halfway house means the info ain't classified, but mighty embarrassing if it leaks. Why? 'Cause no official wants to explain why Bluegrass is stockpiling frangible 5.56 with gray polymer tips built to shatter on cement. So, where does that leave us regular folks? First, keep your eyes peeled. When the buy-in shifts from plain old rounds to custom loads, the tactics have already changed. Second, think about spreading out your own ammo stash. Expect demand to jump for rounds like 6.5 Creedmoor, 300 Blackout, and barrier-busting 5.56. Third, follow the federal paperwork. SAM.gov posts every contract if you know where to look. Each new deal adds another clue to the playbook. Washington ain't talking about in public. Don't chase sound bites, watch the order forms. That's all for today's deep dive. What's your take? Does this pile of ammo point to overseas fights, trouble at home, or maybe just a slow bureaucratic burn? Do them gray tips and blanks hint at mind games or training foreign troops? Have you already started changing up your own buys to keep pace? Drop your thoughts down below, 'cause iron sharpens iron, and we need every sharp mind thinking hard before another billion in hush-hush ammo slips past folks paying attention. Hit like so this breakdown gets seen. Share it with anyone still thinking ammo shortages are just bad luck. And subscribe with alerts on, 'cause we'll keep following the federal trail wherever it leads.